Welcome to the Automation Zone. In today's tutorial, we'll learn what is a list in Python. We'll first try to understand why a list is required in the first place. In the following example, I have created three variables to hold the employee names working in my company. Now, till now we have learned that each variable can hold only one value, and this is going to become very tedious if I had many employees working in my company. We'll now learn a new data type which can hold more than one value simultaneously. This data type is called as a list. You can save a list in a variable as well. So here I'm going to create a variable by the name of list of employee. You can have any variable name of your choice. And then I'm going to assign this to a list. To create a list, simply give your square brackets. In this way, I have created an empty list and saved it in the variable called list of employee. Let me now go ahead and print this list. Here we go. The list is currently empty. In order to add values to your list, simply take the individual values and paste it inside of these brackets. After you have done that, you have to separate each value by a comma. In this way, I have saved three values inside one data type called as a list. I do not need three variables now to save or to hold my three values. Let me run it. As you can see, all the three values are printed below. Now we'll learn how to access individual values from the list. In a list, each value has a specific position. The first value has a position 0. We'll call this as index. Therefore, the first value has the index 0, the second has index 1, and so on and so forth. Therefore, in order for me to access individual elements, you have to type in a square bracket after your list. I will add square brackets either here or I can add it to my variable as well. I will use it with the variable. In order to access the first element, I've given a square brackets with the value or the index as index 0. This is going to retrieve the first element from my list. In the same way, if I would give the index 2, this would retrieve the third element from my list. If I give a particular index which does not exist, it is going to throw me an exception called index out of range. So you need to be careful when you are specifying the index that that specific index actually exists inside of your list. The other interesting property of a list is that it can have more than one different data types in the same list. For example, here I have a list of strings, but I can also have numbers in the exact same list. Example, here we go. I can also have Boolean expressions such as true and false. I can have objects inside it as well, and I can also have a list inside of a list. So here I'm adding a new list, and let this list be of numbers 1, 2, 3. So I have a list consisting of values 1, 2, 3 inside of a larger list. Let me execute this, and you'll see that this piece of code works as well. Now that we have learned how to create a list, we'll learn a few important methods of a list which are stated above. Let me take a list which is much more simpler for this example. Here I have a list of numbers from 1 to 10. Let me paste this here and let me print the exact same list. Okay, the code is working fine for now. The first method that we learn today is index. Index is going to return for you the index of the element inside of the list. To use this, type index and type the element which you want to search. So if I want to search the value 2, Python will then search in the list, and the moment it finds the value 2, it will return the index of that particular value. So in a list in Python, the very first element has got the index as index 0, then 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth till the very last element in that list. So when I run this, you shall see index 1 being printed out. Now what if I had 2 twice inside of the list? So if I have 2 here and if I have 2 here as well. In this case, Python will only tell you the index of the very first instance of the element. So if I run it, it is still showing as 1. How do I find the second one? Index has got an optional parameter which tells it from where to begin the search. So here I know that the number 2 is found at the index 1. So I can tell Python to begin the search from my second index. So it will begin the search from here, and therefore the second number 2 is also found. Let me run it. We shall see the index number 5 is now being printed, which is the index of the second number 2 right here. Python also has a third optional parameter. This will basically tell where to end your search. Note that in this list I can give the maximum number as number 9 because this has total of 9 indexes. So I can give number 9 or I can give any number below 9. If you do not give any values at all, note that it is going to begin the search from the very first element and it will end at the last element. That is it for indexes. Now we'll look at the next one, which is length. Length is basically going to count the total number of elements which are present inside of your list. So in this case, let me remove this number 2. Let me use len and put this all inside of my parentheses. And when I run it, we shall see the total count of elements is 10 because I have 10 numbers inside of my list. The other one is sum. Now before that, note that you can use length like this, or you can also do a dot after your list and then use length. That will work just fine. The next one is sum. Sum is basically going to add all the numbers inside of the list. It is specific to only numbers. You cannot use it with strings or any other data format. It is going to throw you an error. So here what I'll do is I'll use sum and I'll put the entire list inside of the brackets, and when you see the output you shall see the sum of all the elements inside of the list. So these are the three methods which are used for calculations. The next set of methods will be used to add elements to the existing list. So let me take the exact same list and I've assigned this list to the variable list of numbers. Now what if I want to add, or if I want to append a new value to my list and let that value be the number 11. So I use a method called append and then I give the value, and this value is added towards the end of my list. As you can see, the number 11 is added to my list. Now I can add the number 11 not only at the end of the list but also in between the list. To do that I have to use a method called insert, and in this the very first attribute is going to be the index where I want to add it at. So if I want to add this element right here or at my fourth index, I'll give the index as index 4. So 11 will now come at the fourth index and all the other elements will be moved by one index. Let me run this. As you see the output 1, 2, 3, 4 and 11, and then all the other elements are moved ahead by 1. The next one is extend. Now the methods append and insert will only allow you to add one element at a time. Extend will allow you to add the existing list with a new list altogether. So I can use extend and then specify the list which I want to append to the existing list. So let me use a list having numbers 11, 12 and 13, and if I run it, you shall see this list is added to the previous list, and therefore I get a larger list which has numbers from 1 to 13. Now we have learned how to add elements to an existing list. We'll now learn how to remove the elements. To do that, we have got a first method called as remove. Using remove, you can specify the element which you want to be removed. For example, if I give the element as element 1 and if I run it, you shall see the list no longer contains the element 1 or the number 1. I can have anything. Example, here I'm going to remove the number 5. Note that if a particular number is removed, all the other values will be moved left by one index. Now either I can remove something by value or I can remove it by index. So to using index, use a method called pop. So when I give pop, I don't have to specify the value but the index. So pop 5 basically means I'm removing the number 6. Let me run this. We shall see that the number 6 no longer is present inside of my list. And the last one is clear. Clear is basically going to reset your list. So if I use clear, it takes no value. but now my list is going to be completely empty. The next method, sort, is going to be used to sort a list in ascending or in descending order. So let me take a new list here. Let me have the values such as 11, 8, 20. Okay, this is good enough. So now if I use the method over here called as sort, it is going to by default going to sort it in the ascending order. And if you see the output, you can see 8, 11 and 20. Sort also has got an optional parameter, and that is reverse. And if I use reverse as true, it is going to basically do the sorting but in the reverse order or in the descending order. If I run it now, you shall see 20, 11 and 8. There are many other ways to do sorting which we'll learn later. The next one is reverse. As the name suggests, this is going to reverse your string. So if I do a dot reverse here, it takes no parameters. We shall see the output is completely opposite, which is 28 and 11. 28 and 11. Now, apart from all this, there's one thing which we have not learned is how to find if an element is present inside of the list. To do that, simply use the keyword called in. For example, if I want to find if 8 is present inside of the list, you can just do 8 in the list. And you shall see the output as true if it is present, and if a particular element is not present, for example the number 10 does not exist in my list, we shall see the output as false. In the next few tutorials, we'll learn what are tuples, how are they different from a list, and what is splicing of a list in Python. If you have any questions in this tutorial, do comment below, I'll help you out. If you like this series on Python, do show your support by liking and sharing this video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you all for watching.